Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Ascendants, what's good? It's your boy Dave B. You watching Day Beyond Astrology, not Dave Astrology, Beyond Astrology. You know what I'm saying? Where we dive deep into spirituality, astrology, of course, and psychology and different things related to, different spiritual tools we can use to continue to excuse me, grow and expand as individuals so that we can make the world a better place in some capacity. So it's about knowing yourself so that we can be better versions of ourselves and express better outwardly. Now, this is going to be our January horoscope breakdown. I know I'm kind of like late into the month. I mean, but we're still before half, and this is still going to be valuable information that y'all can use in y'all different endeavors. Now, yeah, this is going to be specifically for the Capricorn ascendants slash risings. And the reason for this is because we're going to be looking at house placements. And so you need to know where your Capricorn sits in your chart. Luckily for y'all, being that y'all are Capricorn ascendants, it's in your first house. Surprise, surprise. Now, depending on the degree of your ascendant, that might determine if you have overlapping houses or different, like slightly different house placements. So it might be a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, but for the most part, you can look around, see the different other readings to get a full picture over what's going to be going on in January for y'all. So um, just as a baseline, we're going to be looking at your first house, but we also going to be looking at your second house because in January, the sun goes through both Capricorn and into Aquarius, and we actually about to be in Aquarius season pretty soon. Also got a new moon in Capricorn coming up, so this might be taking place in your first house or in your second house, depending on what's going on in your chart. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. Now. Where do I want to begin? Now, the reason we're looking at the sun is because that's going to give you an idea of the central theme. The sun is representing what we're paying attention to. So for y'all paying attention to yourself, which is very important for y'all right now. So right now, this the month of January really is going to be about self reflection. A lot of wisdom coming through based upon Jupiter being opposite to y'all in the seventh house, and it's like late degrees in Cancer, Jupiter. So it might be kind of more to it might be going into your eighth house, or it might just be sitting right there in your seventh house. Either way, you're getting reflections based upon, your emotional response to the situations, circumstances, experiences that you are relating to. So, kind of getting a compare and contrast and like, how do you feel about the experiences that you're relating to or the people, places, and things in relationship with you? That's going to be very important. And, key word being how you feel about it. Now, there's a stellium going on in your first house. So this is a lot of concentrated energy on a personal level. So, this might be a time where you do have to be way more considerate about what makes sense to you. What do you want to build for the next X amount of years? What do you want your 2026 to look like? And even though, a lot of people, the Gregorian calendar are going to have everybody in the energy of celebrating New Year's and kind of having this false start to the year because the real new year doesn't start until March, you know what I'm saying? Until we get into Aries season. But this is still a powerful time for you to blueprint and figure out, okay, how, strategize. Let's figure out what do I want to tap into as resources to get me to where I want to go. Capricorn is all about getting from point A to point B, and this is the winter season. So January up until March, these 3 months are really about, packing things up and getting rid of it. When they say resolution, a lot of people think, oh, the New Year's resolution is something I'm going to start new. But it's actually no resolve. It's about wrapping things up that no longer serve you in this new phase of life. And then numerology wise, we're in a year one, which kind of goes back to the emphasis on focusing on what's in alignment with you. We are no longer in the time period or the era of doing things just to kind of keep up with what the world is telling you is the right thing to do, doing things just to feel safe or for the approval of others. You might already be in a space to not really give too much of a damn about what other people are want or demanding from you, hopefully. But, for those of you who might still deal with that on some kind of level, this is a kind of reminder. This season in and of itself, with all this energy in your first house, is about getting back on track with what makes sense to you. What do you want to build? So think about it as restructuring your life, but from the root. Um, this new moon is coming late in your first house, or maybe even in some of y'all's second house. So considering, and that's where the energy is flowing. So there's a concentration on the first house. Everything is progression when it comes to astrology. So understanding that this energy in your first house is setting you up to have a better idea of what seeds you actually want to plant when Aquarius season comes around. So now you can actually get started on things that matter to you instead of just kind of following the same kind of routine or safe pattern. You being an earth, even though your sun sign might be different, but you having earth in your ascendant, your personality might lean on what makes sense or what your responsibilities are, which are important. I'm not advising anybody to go against their responsibilities. However, um, how can we make our responsibilities work for us instead of the other way around, which leads to you being burnt out and drained by life? Kind of, you've created a situation or a circumstance or an experience for yourself in this lifetime where you are chasing, running around with your head cut off, trying to make up for, trying to support your responsibilities, when you want to flip it to where your responsibility supports your lifestyle. So you live the way you want to live, and the things that you have to do to maintain that, and the upkeep required to keep that lifestyle going, are well within your arsenal of work, well within your expertise, well within your capabilities, well within the things you are willing to do and happy to do, because they are in alignment with you. Some of us create circumstances, again, like it's all kinds of things. You might have had a child really young. You might have had, like, parents that demanded certain things of you so early that it kind of stunts your growth. You could have been in a situation where you had an injury, or somebody you were close to had an injury, and you had to take on that responsibility that you didn't necessarily want. Even in those situations, there's always benefits in them, but you just have to get creative with how you can turn that into something that makes sense for you. And that might require you, just being in a state of meditation to understand what these things mean for your story, and try your best to be somewhat optimistic about it, or have a perspective that is more on that leans towards having the glass half full. Sometimes just life will throw things at you, but you always have to remember, on some level, this experience was designed for you, even if it is difficult, even if it's on the darker side of reality. The more creative you can get with the reasoning behind why certain things played out the way, and the better you can create a reason to keep going and push through and persevere, the better the outcome can be. You know what I'm saying? You have to work with potential, even though sometimes, especially for you as a earth, earth ascendant, your personality, you might shun potential because, how can you trust potential? It's not tangible yet. It's not here yet. But that's part of, even as a Capricorn ascendant, and what you might be going through as a lesson from Jupiter. Jupiter being opposite you, it's opposing. So it might be very difficult. And then also Jupiter falls in Capricorn, but it's exalted in your in Cancer, but for you, the seventh house. So it might even be a situation where somebody you're in a relationship with, or somebody you relate to, has to provide you with a different way of looking at a situation so that you can see the bright side of it. Um, Moving forward too. So you got all this energy moving into your second house. So there's going to be a lot of concentration in the latter half of January on what seeds are you planting. So you have to be, this is the energy of innovating. It's also a Saturn ruled sign. So the things that you're blueprinting now, this is why it's important for you to spend time reflecting on who you are, so that you can be very clear and have a stronger sense of conviction when the second house comes in, and the second house is all about, planting seeds, what you want, what you have to offer to the world, but also what you want to invest in as a gift, or back to that P word, potential, what I'm saying, what you want to invest in. So, look at it as what you have potential to be, but also the what you have, what things around you have potential in and of themselves. Is that I think I was going, yeah, what things are, people, places, and things are worth your participation or worth your investment. So, you know, again, we're still in the winter season, so we're clearing out things. So there might be things still around you that are demanding your attention, and you have to have the discernment to decide whether or not that's worth investing in. So that might be a person, place, or a thing that you're involved in, or even, it could be a job, it could be a place that you go. Really being honest about, is this worth it for me? And again, this has nothing to do with anybody else, because other people might say, well, you want to hold on to that, or you want to keep that, or people might even be trying to promote themselves like, hey, I'm somebody you should keep around. I'm this, I'm that. But it's up to you to decide whether or not you find it worthy to keep around, to invest in. The second house is way more of a personal thing. It's way more about your values. But that's the key thing. Your values. Do your values align with the things in in your space? And it's either a yes or no. You can kind of make that cut and dry. Now, fourth house you got is important because near the end of January, we're gonna have Neptune going into your fourth house. So, and then also Saturn later on in the year. So, there's a big thing. The fourth house is it's a square. It creates a square. Aries creates a square. So, we also have Chiron in Aries, which to me lately has been kind of like somewhat highlighted. There's a lot of emotional healing that's maybe necessary, um, especially when Neptune gets in there. Things that you haven't resolved on an emotional level or from childhood could crop back up and become keep you kind of in a delusion. Or if you are on the path to resolve and heal some of the things on an emotional level, insecurities, personal insecurities around maybe your passion, or just personal insecurities around, things that maybe made you frustrated in the home, conflict, unresolved conflict with people who are close to you, people you consider um heart to heart people. Things in this space, there's a lot of sensitivity around there, or there could be. Just resolving it though could open the path for Neptune and Aries to kind of be more on the creative end. So there might be a lot of creative things you can generate from just understanding yourself more on an emotional level. Um, but if these unresolved emotional issues and insecurities go on for too long without you having the intention to kind of dive into that and kind of figure out what's going on with that, that can create delusions in other interpersonal relationships that you're trying to build, or just within your home currently. There could be a lot of delusional energy in the home. So you, again, back to even considering like, okay, the transit of the sun going from the first house moving into the second, us having a new moon in the second for you, what I'm saying, or going into the second, you want to consider, um, the new moon is going to bring an energy of a new awareness towards either your personal view on what you value. That's kind of what I see, because it's going to be cuspy. So your personal view on what you value to a degree, depending on where exactly, but it's either going to have to do with value or personal issues, insecurities in people, places, and things. So that's kind of a theme, and it in some way relates to Neptune and Aries. So has the potential to link to Neptune and Aries as just kind of being like, okay, later on there might be things that I'm keeping close either to my heart, or it could be domestic things, people in your home, or people who just represent home for you, or things that represent home for you, comfort zones that I'm delusional about because I haven't quite ironed out who I am in the context of my emotional pain and stuff like that. So, that just might be something you're dealing with. Also, the sun is going to be passing through Pluto. You got Pluto sitting again, maybe in your second house. So even how you relate or deal with, or how you associate, I should say, with your value, what you have to offer to the world, or the things that you value, that's transforming. So be prepared to kind of have a whole different perspective on those things as the sun gets closer into Aquarius, especially as the new moon kicks in, because that's going to the new perspective is going to also influence how that transformation kind of plays out. And Pluto is one of those energies you want to make sure you getting in front of rather than letting it show you. So don't cling on to anything right now. Again, this time period leading up to March is about clearing things out. So if it's no longer serving you, no longer aligned, go ahead and get it out. You know what I'm saying? Simple as that. But yeah, that's it for the most part. Um yeah, I think last only thing I would say is that Uranus is in y'all fifth house or late, it could be like early sixth house. So, just remain innovative with expression, express what's authentic to you so that you can clear out and make space for the things that belong in your circumference. That's kind of the last thing. But anyway, hopefully this was helpful. If you would like to get a one-on-one personal reading, let me know. Email me at davebeyond95@gmail.com with astrology help in the subject line. I curate my readings based upon a person's individual needs. So let me know in the, actual body of the message what it is you're looking to get, and then we can, customize y'all reading so that you can get, yeah, anything that y'all need. Other than that, make sure you drop me a like, drop a comment, especially if you like the video, and subscribe if you're not already. All right, much love, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.